Hi everyone, this is Dr. Kritika Selvakumar, Senior Lecturer from the Department of Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics from SRM Dental College, Ramapuram. Today we're going to discuss in detail about the pulp sensibility test, in particular about the thermal test. Pulp test can be broadly categorized into pulp sensibility test and pulp vitality or vascularity test. Under the pulp sensibility test is a thermal test, that is the heat and cold test, and electric pulp test. And under the pulp vitality test is the laser Doppler flowmetry and pulse oximetry. We need to understand one thing clearly here, that the commonly clinically employed thermal test and electric pulp test are assessing only the neural sensibility status of the tooth, and it follows the principle of stimulation of nerve fibers, which only indirectly tells us whether the tooth is vital or not. Whereas it is the pulp vitality test or vascularity test which actually evaluates the pulpal vasculature. Previously, we had discussed about electric pulp test in detail. Today, we're going to see about the thermal test, that is the heat and cold test in detail. These are some of the indications where we can use the pulp sensibility test in teeth which have pain. As a diagnostic or investigative aid to confirm the diagnosis, we need this pulp sensibility test. In case of traumatized teeth, prior to any restorative procedure, in teeth undergoing pulp capping, when there is a periapical radiolucency confined to the anatomical structures, to test the efficacy of the anesthesia and analgesics. In case of transplanted teeth, in teeth associated with Lee-Ford fractures or osteotomies, this pulp sensibility test can be used. So moving on to the thermal test, the first is the cold test. These are some of the materials that can be used for delivering the cold stimulus. Ice stick can be used with a temperature of minus 69.2 degree Fahrenheit. Ethyl chloride spray with temperature of minus 58.4 degree Fahrenheit can be used. Ice water bath with a temperature of minus 75.4 degree Fahrenheit can be employed. Endo ice, which is composed of 1112 tetrafluoroethane, which is the most commonly used cold test stimulus with a temperature of minus 50 degree Fahrenheit can be used. Carbon dioxide snow, also known as dry ice, with a temperature of minus 78 degrees Celsius can be used, and dichloro-difluoromethane with a temperature of minus 50 degrees Celsius can be used. How is this test performed? So the sequence of testing is: first, the disease-free contralateral tooth is being assessed, following which the opposing tooth needs to be assessed, and then the presumably healthy tooth in the same quadrant will be evaluated, and then only the suspicious tooth or tooth of interest will be assessed using the cold stimulus. So the procedure is: first we need to isolate the tooth, following which in a large number 2 size cotton pellet, the endo ice, which is composed of 1112 tetrafluoroethane, the most commonly used cold test stimulus aid, is being sprayed, and the cotton pellet is completely saturated with that material, and it is placed on the mid-facial region, as you can see here. So first, the healthy tooth is being assessed for the stimulus response, and then only the suspicious tooth or tooth of interest is being evaluated. As you can see here under isolation, first the healthy tooth, once the stimulus is being placed, the patient elicits an immediate response, whereas in the suspicious tooth, that is 2-1, the patient does not elicit a response indicative that the tooth is in the phase of necrosis or has a necrotic pulp. In case we would like to repeat the test, the recovery time of 1 minute is given for reconciliation of the nerve fibers. The time and duration of placement of the stimulus is approximately 2 to 5 seconds. So the type of responses that can be elicited are: a healthy response where the patient immediately responds to the cold stimulus, which is positive and similar to the control tooth. In case of reversible pulpitis, the patient elicits a short, sharp pain which disappears on the removal of the stimulus. In case of irreversible pulpitis, the patient experiences and elicits an excruciating pain which lingers even after the removal of the stimulus. And in case of a non-vital tooth, the patient does not respond to the cold stimulus, and this needs to be confirmed with other tests such as EPT and heat test. The other types of responses that can occur are the false positive and false negative response. The false positive response occurs when the cold stimulus, instead of being placed in the midfacial region, when it is in close proximity to the soft tissues, then the patient can experience and elicit a false positive response. And also in cases of multi-rooted teeth which is undergoing partial necrosis, then the patient will give a false positive response. A false negative response occurs in calcified teeth, especially in the elderly age group. So once the cold stimulus is placed on the tooth and the patient experiences pain, when there is an immediate pain that does not linger, it shows that the tooth is in the phase of asymptomatic reversible pulpitis. Whereas when the patient has lingering pain even after the removal of the cold stimulus, then it signifies that the diagnosis is symptomatic irreversible pulpitis. And if the patient does not respond to the cold stimulus, it clearly showcases that the pulp inside is completely necrosed. Moving on to the pathophysiology, there is a transient vasoconstriction that occurs after the placement of the cold stimulus on the tooth. And according to Van Hassel theory, this vasoconstriction causes the outward dentinal fluid movement, thereby causing hydrodynamic changes within the tooth. This hydrodynamic changes causes the activation of the A delta nerve fibers, in turn causing sharp, quick pain signals. So this leads to the response from the patient on application of the cold stimulus. So cold test is the most recommended test in cases of teeth with metal fillings, multi-rooted teeth, immature permanent teeth, and in teeth with full coverage restoration or crowns. And the go-to material in the cold test that needs to be employed in such scenarios is the carbon dioxide snow with a temperature of minus 78 degrees Celsius. The next thermal test that we are going to see in detail is the heat test. The materials that are being used for this heat test are hot GP can be used, electric heat carrier, heated burnisher, hot compound, dry rubber polishing wheel, Berlew wheel, and hot water. So the GP stick is heated at a temperature of greater than 65.5 degrees Celsius and placed on the tooth to deliver the heat stimulus, and this method is called as a Grossman's method. When there is inadequate heating of the GP above this temperature, then it only transfers a weak stimulus and it does not lead to the activation of the C core fibers that are present within the pulp. The heat test sometimes can give a painful, excruciating pain to the patient on application of the heat stimulus on the tooth, and for the immediate pain relief, a cold stimulus needs to be applied. And this occurs in scenarios where there is increase in intrapulpal pressure due to the application of the heat stimulus. The next is the electric heat carrier, which uses the touch and heat or system B, where it delivers a controlled temperature of 150 degree Fahrenheit, which is similar to the temperature of warm water, and it's a very safe aid. The other clinically employed method is the heated burnisher, which delivers radiant heat, which is produced from the heated instrument. The only disadvantage of this method is that it's not reproducible. A dry rubber polishing wheel can be used, which is placed on the buccal aspect without a polishing paste or any coolant, and the frictional heat in turn acts as the heat stimulus, and it can be used in cases of gold crowns. The hot water is the most easily available heat stimulus, where it can be employed only under rubber dam isolation, and the patient is laid under a supine position, and from the posterior most tooth it is being tested anteriorly, and the only advantage of this method is that it can penetrate even PFM crowns. So the procedure of the heat test is, first we need to isolate the tooth and then dry it with a lubricant. The commonly used lubricant is Vaseline. This is done to prevent the adherence of the heat stimulus, such as the GP stick, to stick on to the tooth. So the adhesion of that can be prevented by the application of the lubricant. And the heat carrier, say a heated GP or system B touch and heat system or a heated burnisher, can deliver the controlled temperature, and this heat stimulus is placed on the occlusal buccal third or incisal third of the tooth. As you can see here, under isolation, the heated GP is being placed on the healthy tooth in the incisal third and the patient immediately responds, whereas in the tooth of interest of the suspicious tooth, when it's being placed, there is no response, signifying that it's a necrosed pulp. The type of responses that can be elicited are In case of healthy pulp, it responds similar to the contralateral tooth, and the stimulus, once it's removed itself, the response, that is the pain, immediately diminishes. Whereas in case of an irreversible pulpitis, there's an immediate excruciating painful response which is markedly different from the control tooth and lingers even after the removal of the stimulus. In case of a non-vital tooth, there is no response, and this needs to be confirmed with other tests. The duration of placement of the stimulus is approximately 5 to 6 seconds because it needs to reach the C fibers which are present in the core of the pulp. Moving on to the pathophysiology of the heat test. On heat application, that is, once the heat stimulus is placed for 5 less than or equal to 5 seconds, there is vasodilatation that occurs, and this in turn causes increase in intrapulpal pressure. This in turn leads to reduced neural excitation threshold, and the type of responses that can be seen are an immediate excruciating painful response which is significantly different from the contralateral control tooth, or a painful response that lingers on even after the removal of the stimulus, which clearly signifies that the diagnosis is irreversible pulpitis. Or the patient can give an immediate response which is similar to the contralateral tooth, which is positive in nature, and this signifies that it's a healthy state of the pulp. The third type of response that can be seen on application of the heat stimulus is the patient will not respond to the stimulus at all, and this shows that it is a case of non-vital tooth, and this needs to be confirmed with EPT and cold test. So with regard to the intrapulpal pressure, when a cold stimulus is applied for more than 20 seconds, there is a drastic decrease in the intrapulpal pressure which falls to 0. Whereas on application of the heat stimulus above 15 to 20 seconds, there is an increase in the intrapulpal pressure, and this needs to be taken care of immediately by the application of a cold stimulus. So with regard to the activation of the A delta and C fibers without the neural supply of the pulp, the cold stimulus gives a positive response and leads to the activation of A delta fibers which are of low threshold and are myelinated. And the rapid heat also gets activated. There is an immediate response with the A delta fibers which are of low threshold and are myelinated. Whereas on the application of slow heat, there is a negative or delayed response with cold and rapid heat, whereas in slow heat there is a positive response and activation of the C fibers which have a high pain threshold, as well as there is unmyelination of these C fibers. So moving on to the sensitivity, specificity and accuracy of the cold, heat and EPT. Cold stands the highest accurate test amongst the three tests. So cold has a sensitivity value of 0.83 and specificity of 0.93 and an accuracy of 86%, where it differentiates between reversible and irreversible pulpitis. Next is the EPT, that is the electric pulp test, which has a sensitivity of 0.72 and specificity of 0.93 and an accuracy of 81%, where it stimulates the neural fibers, and it needs to be always combined with the cold test in order to get accurate results. And the last is the heat test, which has a sensitivity of 0.86 and specificity of 0.41, and it has an accuracy of 71%, and it can only identify whether it is a case of irreversible pulpitis. So this is all about the thermal test that you need to know. Thank you for listening. Till I meet you with another informative session, this is Dr. Kritika Selvakumar signing off.